Okay, so good morning, everyone. This is Supplier Diversity, Inclusion, and Equity. And today's session is something that we've been yearning for quite some time. I'm happy to be on board. My name is Duane Andrews. I am a corporate trainer. My company is DKA Toolkit, and you can find me online at dkatoolkit.com. I have leadership trainings, online classes, and I am also an MBE. For the past 16 years, I've been the lead corporate trainer at Baruch also, and I am an MBE, and I understand the process of supply diversity as I am a supplier for Baruch, specifically within the last 2 years, we've become connected through an online leadership program, me being the subcontractor. So you can find that program on my site, Strictly Leadership. And I think it's important for us to recognize that supply diversity, let me give this quick story. Yesterday, I posted on LinkedIn that I was moderating this summit today. And one of my clients, who is from a city agency, a very large city agency, and this person is not in supplier diversity, and she called me and she said to me, is this a big deal, supplier diversity? Is this a big deal now? She said, within my organization, it's become something that's been talked about over the last couple of years, but I didn't know it was such a big deal. And this is someone who heads up training and development at a major city agency. And so what she articulated to me was the focus in her agency on supply diversity. And within this year, I've seen it explode. The events of 2020 began an awareness and, most importantly, a verbalization of systemic racism, not only in the justice system, but also in the corporate world. For the first time I can remember, there is an impactful dialogue on systemic racism in corporate America and the need for greater representation of underrepresented groups across the board. For the first time in 16 years as a leadership coach, consultant, and corporate trainer, I've been asked to conduct seminars, trainings, workshops to organizational leaders on inclusion versus diversity, cross-cultural communication, unconscious bias, microaggression. Before 2020, these trainings, seminars, workshops were always asked by the executives to be administered to their frontline workers, never for themselves. They were above these insight building discussions. So this significant shift has brought much more organizational and self-awareness to inclusion, equity, and fairness within organizations and their respective industries. Supplier diversity falls under this umbrella. So today's discussion develops on some best practices and ideas by distinguished panel of experts, some MBWEs, as well as those looking to incorporate those MBWEs into their supplier diversity. We take a much closer look at supplier diversity with special regard to inclusion and equity. Today's panelists include Ophelia Gabrino from the Small Business Services, Richard Flateau from Flateau Realty Inc., Pat Watts from FCI Management Consultants, Carla Hunter Ramsey from National Grid, and Michael Jones-Bey from Edison. To lead the discussion, can we mute? Okay, there seems to be a reverberation. There's a background noise. Can everyone mute their systems, please? Can everyone make sure they're on mute? Okay. I'll continue anyway. let me introduce Ophelia, who is going to be our to lead off our discussion. Ophelia oversees several capacity building programs offered by the City of New York through SBS's Division of Economic and Financial Opportunity to MWBEs and small businesses to help them grow. These programs provide education, mentoring, training, technical assistance, networking, and resources to help guide successful businesses' growth through both public and private sector contracting opportunities. Prior to SBS, Ophelia worked for 20 years in the corporate sector in HR and communications at Avon, Estee Lauder, and Diageo. And prior to that, in sales and program management within supplier diversity and strategic sourcing at More North America, now R.R. Donnelly. Ophelia is a graduate of Boston College with a degree in psychology and business management. Ophelia, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Duane, and good morning to everyone. Fleur, are we going to start the slideshow? Great. So as Duane said, I'm the Executive Director of Capacity Building and Corporate Partnerships at the New York City Department of Small Business Services, also known as SBS. On behalf of my Commissioner, Janelle Doris, I hope that you and your families are all healthy and well. My agency is the certifying entity for the City of New York. For those firms looking to sell their goods and or services to the city. While my agency provides free services to help start, operate, and grow businesses, my division specifically provides services to our certified MWBEs, LBEs, or locally based enterprises, and EBEs, or emerging business enterprises. I'm going to take a few minutes to walk you all through our general services and those specifically designed for certified firms. Next slide, thank you. I will highlight some of our services that are available through our Business Solutions centers located throughout the 5 boroughs. Capital access, financing assistance with loans and or lines of credit through 30+ lending partners, ranging from CDFIs and nonprofits to online and crowdfunding to actual traditional banks. And for those MWBEs bidding and winning city contracts, we offer our contract financing loans to provide mobilization capital up to $1 million at a 3% interest rate plus closing fees. We also offer free legal document review from volunteer attorneys, hiring assistance to help you find qualified employees, training grants to enhance your workforce's skills, and free online courses on a wide variety of business topics. Feel free to go to our website at nyc.gov/NYC Business for more resources and for more information. Next slide. If any of you are looking for assistance and or guidance on reopening, COVID safety protocols, and other COVID-19 related resources, please visit our website at nyc.gov/COVID19biz, B-I-Z. We include information on and links to city, state, and federal resources from this website. Next slide. Okay. So getting to kind of the heart of the matter here. This year was a tough year for everybody. And there were some things that came out of this pandemic that really highlighted the disparity within the communities accessing services, healthcare services, accessing communication services to teach their children, etc. And to address results of studies by the National Bureau of Economic Research and other institutions that suggests that the economic and health effects of COVID-19 have had a disproportionate impact on minority and women-owned business enterprises, specifically Black and Latinx firms in underserved low to moderate income neighborhoods. The mayor signed Executive Order 59 to increase assistance to these communities through increased city procurement opportunities and support services. So in July, the mayor signed Executive Order 59 to increase the city's utilization of MWBEs and announce programs with the Task Force on Racial Inclusion and Equity to connect Black and Latinx entrepreneurs to business opportunities. This included a number of elements, and I'll go through a few of them. Each city agency was required to designate a chief diversity officer who was not in the procurement office and reported directly to the commissioner of that agency. All city mayoral agency procurements under 500,000 are now to be solicited using the MWBE non-competitive discretionary procurement method, which was signed into law last January by the governor. And anybody looking to do so to compete on those needs to have an account set up in our online procurement system called Passport. All emergency procurements must now include at least one MWBE in the solicitation. Emergency procurements kind of bypass the traditional competitive solicitation process. So now we have to have at least one MWBE for consideration in those solicitations. Contracts that are existing or being renewed and new contracts over 25 million must be reviewed carefully for MWBE opportunities. And then the Racial Inclusion and Equity Task Force, led by First Lady Shirlane McCray, is looking to provide the following initiatives, and these are in the works with SBS's assistance, of course, and that's to connect MWBEs, especially Black and Latinx owned business opportunities with anchor institutions and some of the corporations that are based here in the city, developing MWBE networks and mentorships, and also providing pro bono business consultants to provide business and operations planning to businesses in the Black and Latinx communities. So we have really started working to put these programs out, and you should be seeing a lot of announcements in the next few months about services to increase the support to our MWBEs, especially Black and Latinx and underserved communities. Additionally, in August, the mayor announced a community hiring economic justice plan, which includes new project labor agreements with building trades unions. The plan would create more pathways to training, employment, and economic opportunity by providing an estimated 1,300 construction jobs for every $1 billion in construction for low-income communities, leading to an estimated $1 billion in wages and benefits for target communities during the first full year of the program. The plan also includes pushing community hiring legislation at the state level that would require contractors and businesses working with the city to hire New Yorkers from high poverty neighborhoods. Okay, next slide, please. For those MWBs looking to sell to the government, which is the primary purpose of certifying with the city, we offer technical assistance through our Procurement Technical Assistance Center, and that's called PTAC. We're federally funded to do this. We service the Manhattan, Staten Island, and Brooklyn boroughs. You can get assistance with government certifications and navigating not just city, but state and federal procurements. We offer our foundational selling to government workshops twice a month and a number of procurement-related workshops throughout the year. We will be launching a new workshop series that will introduce MWBEs to agency procurement and program personnel who will speak about their agency's contract opportunities. Also, one-on-one sessions are available for individualized assistance. Next slide. And since this is an energy summit, I would be remiss if I didn't include information on the city's lead office on energy and sustainability initiatives, the Mayor's Office of Sustainability. Listed here are a few programs and goals set by the mayor for zero waste and net zero carbon in the city. I'll speak briefly to some, but please feel free to go to their website to learn more and also to access progress reports on these initiatives. Just mention quickly, the New York City Carbon Challenge is a voluntary leadership initiative, public-private partnership between the Mayor's Office of Sustainability and leaders in the private, institutional, and nonprofit sectors who've committed to reduce their greenhouse gas emissions by 30% or more over the next 10 years. There is an accelerator internship that connects, it's a 15-week paid internship that is a collaboration between the Mayor's Office of Sustainability, the Mayor's Office of Workforce Development, and the CUNY Institute for Urban Systems Building Performance Lab. These are training programs for advanced undergraduate and graduate STEM students, and it matches them with companies committed to sustainability. And of course, you're all aware of Green NYC. It's been a very large initiative to send zero waste to landfills by 2030 and generate net zero carbon by 2050. Next slide, please. So I've gone through a lot of information in a very short time. I've on this slide have included some links to the resources and programs and services that I've talked about, but also please feel free to reach out to me with any questions you might have. My address is ogabrino@sbs.nyc.gov. And I know, I think these slides will be shared with the attendees of the summit. So you'll be able to connect directly through the deck that is forwarded out to you. Thank you very much. Back to you, Duane.
So let's keep it moving in terms of time and getting as much information across to the group as possible. Our next speaker will be Richard Flateau. And Richard is a licensed New York real estate broker, and he's the founder and president of Flateau Realty Corporation. Richard has served as treasurer, president, and chairman of the Bedford-Stuyvesant Real Estate Board. He has been actively engaged in the real estate brokerage business since 1995 and has extensive experience with residential and commercial real estate sales and leasing, development, and investment analysis. His firm, Flateau Realty Corporation, is a local full-service real estate brokerage firm seeking to develop broad alliances with those clients and customers who have included institutions such as Amtrak, Bedford-Stuyvesant Restoration Corp., Bridge Street AWME Church, Bridge Street Development Corporation, Columbia University, the Episcopal Diocese of Long Island, H&R Block, Krispy Kreme, Northeast Brooklyn Housing Development Corporation, the Neighborhood Housing Services, the Stuyvesant Heights Christian Church, the First AME Zion Church, as well as numerous attorneys, developers, landlords, and tenants. So now Richard is going to give us a sense of what he does and how he has been functioning as an MBE in the city. So Richard, the floor is yours.
Thank you for that introduction, Duane. I'd like to start off by congratulating the American Association of Blacks in Energy, the New York Metro Area Chapter, for organizing their first virtual energy summit. I also would like to thank a personal friend, the chapter president, Bill Suggs, for inviting me to be a panelist this morning. And Duane, thank you for guiding the panel, and also Flair Calendar, who's working behind the scenes, as well as all the other chapter officers and conference committee workers who work so hard to make this summit a reality today. So I'm honored to be on this panel on supplier diversity, inclusion, and equity. I'll just start off by saying a little bit about my company. Next slide, please. Been in operation since 2000. I'm in Central Brooklyn, worked in all 5 boroughs though. And we are a real estate brokerage company. We also do consulting services. Next. some of the services that, or some of the types of clients that we have are property owners, residential and commercial buyers and sellers, renters, small business owners, who we would help to find spaces if they're trying to lease space, corporations and nonprofits, some of the things that Duane mentioned in his intro, and we work throughout the 5 boroughs. Some of our asset types that we deal with: commercial properties, residential 1 to 4, family properties, co-ops, condos, mixed use, special use, which would include churches or other types of institutions, land sales. We've done business sales and leasing. Next slide. So we are an MBE certified by Small Business Services, which Ms. Gabrino talked about. We were certified. Next slide. So I'm going to talk a little bit about best practices from a small business MWBE perspective. I know you read studies about what's happened to MWBEs across the country, and you're looking at a staggering number of businesses that have gone out of business since COVID. I've heard numbers as high as 40 to 50%. So since this is an energy conference, I put the first point: try to maximize energy efficiency, and actually use the program that Con Ed had to get lighting installed when I was doing an office renovation. Con Ed subcontracts out to, and they still have the program, to Wildan, and you can get very cost-effective lighting done. Second thing, which is critical, would be to control your debt, because in this type of uncertainty, debt is can be catastrophic for a business if you're not able to meet your debt service payments. Timely tax filings, that's a big problem with a lot of MWBEs, but you're not going to be able to get financing. It's going to be difficult to get certified, or impossible to get certified as an MWBE without having your tax filings in place. Building a credit profile is also another key thing. You have to be able to separate your business and personal finances. You want to build up a credit profile for the business, starting out maybe with a line of credit or overdraft line from your bank. You want to be able to try to build that. Having and implementing strong financial accounting systems is critical. Again, if you plan on ever getting any financing from a bank, if you need working capital to take on a contract with a utility company, you're going to have strong financial accounting systems. And then the last thing is really think about what markets you can get into, plan for your growth during this time. Next slide. I'm going to actually, before I talk about real estate business opportunities, I'm going to echo something that Mr. Andrews said in his opening remarks about the awareness of equity and inclusion, coming about over these last, being raised over these last several months. So one of the things which I don't have in the slides that I also do, which takes up a lot of my time, is that I'm also chair of a community board, Community Board 3 in Brooklyn. We have about 150,000 people. So I've been dealing with these issues of equity and inclusion on the front line for a number of years, being on the community board, and it's always an issue, particularly when we have development projects that come before the community board where we have public subsidies, and always questions from the community about local hiring and subcontracting opportunities. So a lot of this frustration spilled over during the summer. Getting back to the slides, in terms of, I think, business opportunities for real estate related firms, field offices. I know occasionally utility companies may have probably need to have field offices. I actually heard a presentation yesterday at the borough president's office about a company, Microgrid Networks, that does, it's a New York-based company, and they have large-scale batteries that they install to help manage the demand on the electrical grid. And they're looking for sites. They have a distributed renewable energy technology. They've put these batteries on 25 sites, and they're looking for additional sites. So field offices or site finding sites for companies would be one area for business opportunities, real estate related. I deal a lot in my capacity on a community board. There's kind of an intersection with regulatory issues, and some of these issues affect the energy company. So I know as a result of some gas explosions, there were several laws that got passed. So we're actually dealing with one of them on a consumer level now throughout the city, involving inspections of natural gas piping systems. So that could be something that we could work with some of the energy companies on. And then, of course, our bread and butter would be sales, leasing, and management services, which we've done for some institutions. And then a last thing I'll mention is partnering on energy efficiency programs. I've actually worked with a company called Block Power, and I've worked with some other companies in trying to put different energy efficiency programs. Next slide. So just a couple of things about where we are and where we need to be going. I know the controller's office, he put out a study recently saying the city, in terms of dollar value, the city awarded only about 4.9% to NWBEs, and 82% did not receive any money from the city of New York. And that was just reported December 1st. I know there's an effort to increase the number of city certified MWBEs. As of June 30th, it was 10,034. Hopefully that's consistent with what Ms. Gabrino said. And then there's a city disparity study, which looks at availability versus utilization. So what minority firms, what Black firms are available in different sectors, and what contracts are being actually let, or how are they being utilized. So I know SBS is trying to close the gap there. There was a big study done in 2018. I think there are a lot of opportunities for the businesses that have been able to survive. And I'll just close on that note. Duane?
Thank you very much. And now, next up, we will have, so we just had Richard, who is an MBE, and now we're going to have Pat Watts, who is an MWBE. And so Pat Watts is the president and CEO of Faithcom Inc., doing business as FCI Management, or FCI. Founded in 1998, FCI is a full-service energy water consulting company offering a broad level of expertise in energy, water efficiency services. Today, FCI is a certified woman-owned minority corporation headquartered in Long Beach, California, also with offices in New York and Georgia. Pat is widely known for her care for her employees and partners. She established a model training program that partners local utilities and nonprofits to train individuals from underserved communities. With over 30 years of experience in the regulated electric utilities industry, Pat has held management positions in customer service, energy services, marketing, public affairs, and community relations. Pat is a member of several boards of directors that focus on strengthening the economy and human potential. One such board is the Low Income Oversight Committee and Advisory Board of the California Public Utilities Commission. Pat, you are up.
And greetings. I bring greetings to New York from California and from the California AABE chapter. It's really my pleasure to be here with you today. I would like to thank my very good friend, Bill Suggs, for giving me an opportunity to share with you my journey. I wasn't quite expecting the extensive introduction Duane just gave, but we can move into the first slide, please, Flora. I want to talk a little bit about my journey to where we are today, a 20 plus year, well, actually 22 years this month, company, and how we've been able to grow. As Duane mentioned, I founded the company in 1998 after a very successful career with Southern California Edison, and I took an opportunity to take an early retirement package. From there, we really went into working with transmission and distribution business units to provide services and support from other employees that retired, primarily engineering, service planning. And then in 2001, when, as in California goes, we always have an energy crisis. So we had an energy crisis in 2001, which is when we really entered into the arena of energy efficiency. So I don't know, Flora, I'm not sure if the slides are moving because I can only see me. But if you are on the slide that says what our services are. So we have extensive, thank you. Thank you. So our expertise is really in experiences with delivering energy efficiency programs for utility companies. We deliver that through audits, through retrofits, through project management, through customer service outreach, project implementation, and energy management systems. And we manage multiple energy and comprehensive capabilities in the areas of water, lighting, HVAC, and refrigeration. We've developed this expertise ongoing through our growth. We started with a very small contract in the energy efficiency space with the California Public Utilities Commission, doing a direct install commercial program for Southern California Edison. And we had that program, actually leveraged that program into a contract that lasted over 16 years. And we have, to our credit, over 200,000 commercial energy efficient retrofits. Now, currently, we have offices, as Duane mentioned, in New York and Georgia. But of course, by far, my biggest leap of faith in the first office outside of California was in New York. And I have to say that thanks to my AABE family, which I've been a member of AABE for a very, very long time, probably all of those 30 years that Duane mentioned, and involved at a very national level, and had developed several relationships with AABE members in New York. And they were able to really help me get myself established. It's a big leap of faith to go all the way across country to a city and a state that you don't really know and start a business. And we were really able to do that very successfully through the help and support of AABE members that I had developed relationships with over the year. But not only that, just the supplier diversity portion of that, and meeting people like Michael Jones-Bey, who helped to leverage and really become a champion for us, help us to continue to grow our company in the New York area. Next slide. So I want to talk about a little bit about this supplier diversity equation, the importance of supplier diversity in helping small businesses, minority businesses, women-owned businesses to grow their company. It's no small feat at all to start a business. First of all, it takes a tremendous amount of bravery. You got to be like, okay, I'm going to get out here and I'm going to do this. You don't know what's going to happen, but you have a vision. And from a vision, you develop a business plan. From a business plan, you develop your marketing and your branding. And then you start to grow your business. You take and leverage the experience that you have to deliver your products and services, the institutional knowledge that I was able to gain over those years that I worked with Southern California Edison, not only in the energy efficiency arena, but also in the public affairs arena, gave me what I need knowledge wise to be able to grow a company, to be able to develop programs that could be delivered to customers on behalf of the utility companies and serve in multiple jurisdictions. When I tell you that's no small feat, it is not. And a lot of times it's taking a leap of faith to get out here and not only just start the business, but grow it and take it to a national presence. I will say that I have been tremendously inspired, and my development as a business has come from organizations like the National Minority Supplier Development Council, like the Women Business Enterprise Council, and they have offered so much to minority women-owned businesses that really helps us to understand how to run a business and how to deliver the services of our individual companies. And to that point, we take that and we develop a competence, and we take that competence and we deliver it confidently to our customers. And I say this because oftentimes when they talk about MBEs or WBEs, there's sometimes a stereotyping that goes with that, where the people that are your end users, your clients, maybe they don't know you, but they feel like they're just giving you a contract because you're an MBE. But we're not just MBEs. We are businesses. We're businesses, and we are delivering the products and services, our knowledge, our value proposition as we have grown and developed these companies. And I think that's an important distinction. And I think that is also where the supplier diversity organizations and the corporations and their support is so important. They help us to sell that value propositions to our clients. They help us to talk with those end users and let them know what it is that we bring to the table. What is our differentiator? What makes us competent and capable to deliver the products and services they need for their customers? It's been an exciting journey thus far. That leap of faith to New York has led us to offices in Georgia, where we have a contract with Georgia Power. It has also led us to opening an office in Portland, Oregon, which we just opened last month. We'll be starting a contract there in 2021 with one of the other larger implementer companies. And we've been able to diversify, in a sense, change our strategy to adapt to the changing market of energy efficiency. And I want to just say thank you, Richard, for queuing up and talking so much about the importance of energy efficiency with small businesses and partnering with programs that are offered by the utility companies. One, it keeps me in business, so that keeps me happy, but it is really a very important component of where we are as a country. Energy efficiency is about saving our natural resources. Energy efficiency is about helping us save money in our businesses. Energy efficiency is about climate change. And as we move into more of electrification, as we move into more decarbonization and the other areas that are emerging in the energy industry, we will find more opportunities as small businesses to deliver these services. The other thing I want to really talk about too is the value of diverse businesses to our communities. We hire from within our communities. And Duane mentioned that we had developed a training program working with community-based organizations here in California to help train individuals from the community on how to be energy efficient, energy auditors, how to do back office support, and also how to be installers. In California, we are a licensed contractor, so we are electrical and general contractors. So we help these individuals be able to get their license, to be electricians, and to be able to take their careers to very different levels. And so I think that's important because diverse businesses really feel a passion about reaching into their communities and helping to grow those communities, grow individuals, and create jobs, which I think is really important. Oh, next slide, please, Flor. So the next slide, really, I wanted to just kind of wrap it up with talking about who our clients are. And as you can see, we've worked extensively with Southern California Edison on various energy efficiency programs. We not only do the commercial side, but we also work in the low income programs here with Southern California Edison and the gas company. We worked in New York with Wildan on their direct install program. We also worked in the multifamily program there. We are currently working with ICF on the New York Energy Efficiency Accelerator Program. And again, we would begin to expand with other organizations such as TRC, Clear Results on delivering energy efficiency programs nationally. And so that again is fueling our growth. So with that, I really want to thank you for this opportunity to share my journey to building this company and to be in business for 22 years, to be able to continue to create jobs. And with that, I'll turn it back over to you, Duane.
It was quite informative. And in the question and answer session, I would want you to speak on something that you mentioned that I'm fascinated about, which is as an MWBE or an MBE, how do you fight against the perception that you got the contract strictly because you are an MBE? So I think that's a very important challenge that we fight against, proving our qualifications to be more than simply being MWBE or MBE. So if you can expand on that later on, that'd be great. So next up, so we began with Ophelia from SBS, and then we had an MBE, then we had an MWBE, and now we want to look at supplier diversity from the corporate side. And so now we welcome our last two speakers, which will be Carla Hunter Ramsey from National Grid, and then Michael Jones-Bey from Con Edison. So first up is Carla Hunter Ramsey. Carla joined National Grid as Global Senior Director of Corporate Social Responsibility. Please. Right. She leads the coordination, integration, and implementation of all supply chain diversity and sustainability strategies across the global footprint. Prior to National Grid, Carla spent more than 20 years in procurement, leading purchasing departments in higher education, specifically York College, CUNY, and the New School. We're getting a feedback. Not sure why. Great. Carla is uniquely qualified for her role at National Grid as she understands the intricacies of being a supplier, as well as a procurement professional and minority business owner. She worked as an executive in her father's printing company, Black and White Impressions, Inc., for almost 15 years and understands the challenges in trying to secure contracts from corporations, state agencies, and the federal government. Her lived experience uniquely shapes her understanding and ability to negotiate on behalf of the supplier as well as National Grid. Over the past 8 years, National Grid's Supplier Diversity Program has received over 50 awards recognized by Diversity Inc., Black EOE Journal, Diversity Plus, Professional Women's Magazine, US Black Chamber, Diversity Careers Inc., National Minority Business Council, and others. Black EOE Journal, the Black Equal Opportunity Employment Journal, has profiled Carla as one of the top supplier diversity executives in the nation. She was also recognized by the National Journal as one of the top 25 champions of diversity in the nation. Carla, please give us your perspective. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Duane. And I just want to start out by also acknowledging my CEO, John Pettigrew, my CPO, Vivian Bracken, my direct boss, Darren Gibbs, and of course, my good friend, Bill Suggs, for this opportunity to present this afternoon. Very excited about this moment. I'm on a panel with my colleagues who I absolutely am pleased to just be in this group where we can share and learn from each other and of course, develop and move the agenda for MWBE forward. So Flora, if you will pull up a presentation, please. Thank you. So I've got a brief agenda, but a very important agenda to share. So covering off 5 areas, a little background about National Grid, our program overview. There are 4 pillars to our program, but today's pillar, there'll be a focus around the economic pillar. The areas of opportunity based on looking at our procurement department and seeing where our key categories are and where there's low spend now, where the opportunity is, and of course the registration process to get it started. Next slide. So as we know, National Grid, for most people, I should say, is not just in the US. We are a global company where we have a footprint in the United States and in the United Kingdom. With over 20 million employees in the US, we have gas and electric distribution in New York, Massachusetts, and Rhode Island. And in the UK, we operate the high voltage electricity network transmission system in England and Wales. And we own and operate the high pressure gas transmission system in Great Britain. And then we've got National Grid Ventures, and that's a newer part of the family of National Grid where we invest in energy projects, technologies, and partnerships to accelerate our clean energy systems. Next slide. So National Grid is aware that we are in a world where it's bigger than just our supply chain, if you will. So we have an alignment to United Nations global goals or the Sustainable Development Goals. And in short, there are 17 global goals that have a goal to achieve a number of initiatives by 2030. And we align with many of them, including gender equality, affordable and clean energy, decent work and economic growth, sustainable cities and communities, climate action, and of course the partnerships for the goal, which AABE is one of our key partnerships that we have in place. Next slide. In October of this year, National Grid understood the importance of being a responsible business. And in doing so, we have launched our Responsible Business Charter. And there are a range of commitments and ambitions that we looked at where we can positively impact society. So there are 5 main areas with a number of commitments and ambitions. A lot of the work that my team does cut across all of them, but the one for today, of course, that we will dive more specifically in is, again, around the economy and how we can, from a supply chain perspective, impact that and bring more opportunities to MWBEs. So really proud of this charter that's gone out. It is our North Star, if you will, going forward. Next slide. So here's a program overview. So just at a very high level, at the top, it is about bringing energy to light. That is National Grid's purpose, why we're here. But if you draw your eyes more into what's in the dark blue, the others are how we kind of line up with our purpose. But we have 4 pillars, if you will. So we've got our enablers, which I'll talk more about. We've got our social, the economic, and environmental, and how that's really what my program is built on, in those 4 pillars, and how we impact and address issues across our supply chain. And the last that I would touch on, everything that we do hits on our values, where every day we do the right thing, we find a better way. And the third value that was put in place this year, and we work to make it happen. Next slide, please. So this is our 4 pillars that I wanted to cover off with you. So with the 4 pillars, with the enablers, so that's just how we integrate into the procurement process. So that's in the upper, if you can see, upper right-hand corner. So how we integrate into the entire procurement operation, looking at the end-to-end process and making sure that supplier diversity is addressed. Going over to the left, our social agenda, which I'm not covering off today, is we've got a modern slavery statement. Every year we have annual commitments that we have against modern slavery, and making sure that there is no modern slavery and/or forced labor inside of our supply chain. The environment, that's a big piece of the agenda, right? So we've worked with CDP, and every year it's about 9 months of programmatic time within my team, where we work with our top 250 suppliers, not only making sure that they report in the CDP, we've grown and matured beyond that. The National Grid has been on the CDP A list, not only for National Grid's own operations, but we've also been on the A list for our supplier engagement. So we work with our supply chain and ensuring that what are they doing to reduce greenhouse gases, and we measure it every year, and we work towards a goal of that. But the one that we'll focus on today is, again, around the economic piece. So this is about promoting and supporting supplier diversity in our sourcing activities. Next slide. So you can't do this in supply diversity without having a policy that is directly supported at the top levels of the organization. So as I laid out, John Pettigrew is our Chief Executive Officer, and we actually refreshed this policy this summer, especially giving light to a number of Black Lives Matter initiatives that have been going on. And so we looked at what was in the old policy, and we highlighted many, which you'll see 5 or 6 different bullets here, ensuring that there is a focus, and there actually is a call out in the policy around minority and women-owned businesses specifically, but it is about increasing our diverse participation and identifying subcontracting opportunities with diverse suppliers. Because we know in the utility, capital access and a lot of things that we do are very capital intensive. So we need to work with our big tier 1 suppliers so that they are doing subcontracting with our diverse suppliers. And of course, it's how are we tracking it, and how are we reporting it, and how are we making sure that we continue to grow those suppliers. So how do we do that? Through the mentorship programs, which I'll briefly touch on later on in the deck, and continue just to invest in skills training to prepare our suppliers for the future. Next slide. So the program is global. As I led off sharing in an earlier slide. So with the global program, so we've got the US piece and the work that we do here, and I gave you the footprint here, and the UK, I have a team in the UK as well. But in order to get this done and the agenda, there are things that align, and there are things that are very regional in focus and how they need to be addressed. We have supply chain CSR ambassadors in both regions in place that helps as a steering committee to help drive this forward as we address social, economic, and environmental issues in our supply chain. Okay. Next slide. So I mentioned to you that there's focus on the economic pillar, if you will. So this is just a fact sheet, some things that we've done. So we've got $800 million in diverse supplier spend annually, which accounts to about 40% of our procurement influence spend with over 4,000 suppliers. And as mentioned, Duane mentioned on the outset, we've received, actually since I've been here, because I've started measuring it, we've received actually 60 industry awards that we're quite proud of, because these are by our peers who have put the program forward as one to look at, benchmark, and continue to support. Next slide, please. So when you look at the supply diversity program and what does it include? Yes, we have all diversity spend, which covers all the diverse categories, and there's a number of them down there, which is including minority and women, veteran-owned business, and a number of others down there. But then we also track specifically our spend with minority and women-owned businesses and benchmarking where we are and where we want to go. So that's really important. So all the spend is looked at, and then we've got a specific slice of spend that we look at around minority and women participation. Next slide. These are the agencies that we go to make sure that we are working with certified suppliers. So we've got WeBank, and we are members at the regional level of each of these, NMSDC, so members in New York, New Jersey. We look to the list of Empire State Development, which have certified at the state level. And of course, we look at city level as well for the suppliers, SBA. And then, of course, because of our footprint in Massachusetts Office of Supply Diversity, which has a great program, we'll work with their listing as well to identify and find certified suppliers. So I mentioned earlier, in the world of utility, my background prior to it was not utility, but I came from higher education. I was director of procurement in higher education. Very, very different in what you're buying. And so whether you absolutely needed a tier 2 program, maybe not so much so in that world, but you do in order to really grow a program of supply diversity and utility, you really are missing it if you don't have a tier 2 program. So what is tier 2? Tier 2 is a subcontractor to our tier 1 supplier, or called a prime supplier. So it's really big. I'm sure most of you are well aware what tier 2 is, but it's important that I raised it because it is a major part of our program at National Grid. So we work with CVM Solutions, where we have our top suppliers go in and report quarterly their spend, and they report also by diversity classification so that we can capture that spend and who the supplier is. Next slide. And here are a few of the mentorship programs that we have worked with to help develop our suppliers. The one pace setters may not be as familiar. So they are in Massachusetts. We're a part of a cohort where we look at-risk zip codes where a lot of minority suppliers are located, and we track spend. It's a 5-year program. So we've tracked spend both at the at-risk zip codes, so kind of that local, and then we look at it statewide and how we are helping to increase the spend for minority and women-owned businesses. It's a focus really on the minority piece of it, because we realize that's the one that's most at risk inside of this program. The rest, I think you're probably familiar with, but the key is that this is very, very important to us as well, just making sure that our suppliers are equipped not only for National Grid, but for Con Ed, but for SBS, but to get business in other areas as well. I remember it said at the outset, worked family-owned business. It was a printing company, but I remember the challenges that we went through, and knowing that the mentorship programs that helped us, we can use that to help others is really important part of our program. Next slide. So what are the areas of opportunity? So we've got a number of areas. So we are in the procurement operation are broken down into these 4 areas where we have category directors over gas, electric, indirects, and transmission. So those are our key categories where we looked at opportunities for MBE spend, really around electric materials and meters, distribution line construction, in the professional services, fleet and logistics, and in the IT space as well. So there's a cut of underneath professional services of other categories that I can go into later if anyone is interested when we go into the breakout. Next slide. So while things have changed during COVID, I can tell you that trade shows still are happening. They're just happening virtually, hence what's being done here and being done extremely well. Matchmaking events, roundtables, discussions. The next piece that I really want to mention to you, because it's now going to be happening in 2021, we're going to be hosting our own How to Do Business with National Grid, and we're doing it category specific. So it's really important that you get my information, I get your information to put you on the list should you hit those categories. So I'm working with the director teams now, and we're looking to put those on the diary for next year. It probably looks like one a quarter, so there'll be quite a few. And of course, partnering with organizations and local chambers of commerce, and sponsoring awards and recognition programs that support minority-owned businesses are all important to how we work to increase our diverse spend. Now, the last two slides, so this is the registration process. So you would go to www.nationalgrid.com. Maybe you take a screenshot of this page. You go click on suppliers and vendors, and then you would see where you would go in to register for us. So everything's right here for your availability. So to kind of take it step 1, 2, 3, 4 to register. And the last slide is my information, so that you have it in place. So it looks like it says HUN, it should be TER, but could just be my camera. But it's Carla.Hunter, HUNTERRAMSEY, Ramsey, at nationalgrid.com. And that concludes my presentation. So I will send it back to you, Duane.
Very informative, chock full of information. I see one question in the comments if we are going to be sharing these slides. So I think that's something we need to address. Last up, we have Michael Jones-Bey from Con Edison. Michael Jones-Bey serves as the director for Con Edison's Supplier Diversity and Sustainability Program. He is responsible for leading the company's efforts to incorporate sustainable supply chain business practices while increasing contract opportunities for minority and women-owned businesses in ways that strategically support the company's commitment to environmental stewardship and promoting economic growth within the communities it serves. Prior to joining Con Ed, Michael served as executive director of one of the nation's largest public sector supplier diversity programs, where he was responsible for revitalizing the New York State Certification Program, agency compliance, and business development initiatives. Targeted industry sector capacity building and market access programs resulted in hundreds of millions of dollars of additional contract opportunities for MWBEs in the construction, renewable energy, and information technology industries. New opportunities in the financial services industry surpassed $1 billion. Michael also spearheaded the state's disparity study and worked on historic legislation to create one of the strongest MWBE laws in the nation. This legislation has made it possible for New York State agencies and authorities to make more than double MWBE expenditures. Michael is a champion for corporate sustainability and a leading proponent for recruiting talented minority and women entrepreneurs into the energy industry. His work has been recognized nationally. He has received over 20 awards from the public and private sector. Michael, the floor is yours.
Good afternoon, and thank you. Thank you, Duane. And I'd also like to thank Flora Callender for all the work that she did in helping to coordinate this panel. I also want to thank the AABE organization for the invitation. Certainly want to thank our local chapter president, Bill Suggs, for his dedication, as well as our Con Edison Senior Vice President, Milo Blair, for his longstanding support and commitment to advancing careers of African Americans in the energy industry. So on behalf of our chairman, John McAvoy, I want to welcome everyone today. And also want to impress upon you that if you have one takeaway from my presentation today, that you please become an active member of AABE. I'd give that advice to not only the entrepreneurs who are in our audience, but also any African Americans who are seeking opportunities or who have a desire to make an impact in the energy industry. This is really, truly a incredible network. Through AABE, I've met some of the most talented and knowledgeable African Americans in the energy industry. This includes professionals and entrepreneurs across the country, as well as within my company. I'm honored to have received this invitation to be part of this distinguished panel. Over the years, I've had the opportunity to work with Carla, Ophelia, Pat Watts, all incredible people. I just would encourage everyone to get a chance to meet and work with these individuals. They've all have been effective champions on behalf of minority entrepreneurs. Before I begin my formal remarks, though, I know everyone is thinking about COVID. I just want to go off script for a minute to just share a bit of what I consider to be one of the untold stories of this COVID-19 crisis. We've all heard stories about the heroes serving on the front lines, whether it be healthcare workers, police, fire, grocery store workers, and they certainly deserve to be saluted for their brave service. However, I'd like to suggest that our minority entrepreneurs have also served heroically. They've been a lifeline to their employees and also to their customers, including Con Edison. What many people don't know is that at the outset of the COVID pandemic, Con Ed faced shortages of critical supplies that threatened our ability to provide adequate PPE for crews that really helped to keep our power system going, gas, steam, electric systems. We were successful, though we did not have any disruptions because, in part, because of the assistance we got from minority entrepreneurs who were agile, who were creative. We had a company that was an alcohol company, or liquor company, that had a brewery that converted their operations to make hand sanitizer for us. We had other companies supplying us with PPE, such as masks and gloves. We have minority companies that made millions of dollars in helping us to mitigate a risk that actually would have impacted the ability for Con Ed to provide power within our system. There's an African-American entrepreneur by the name of Sherrod Madison. I'm not sure if he's a member of AABE, but he was able to provide us with a innovative service to help sanitize the air within our facilities. So again, I just want to thank and salute the entrepreneurs in the audience for your courage and your perseverance in providing employment and also service to companies like Con Edison. So now I think we can begin my PowerPoint. I just want to give a shout out to the entrepreneurs and show level of appreciation that we have for you. So why don't you go to the next slide, and I'll share some information for those of you who are interested in doing business with Con Edison. So by way of introduction, I know we have people in the audience who are not just in the metro area, but from across the country, letting you know that Con Edison has been around close to 200 years. We have the largest electric underground system in the country, actually in the world. We have over 94,000 miles of underground cable. If you put that in perspective, it's enough cable to circle the circumference of the Earth 3 times. We have electric, gas, and steam systems serving millions of customers in the metro area. We also have, in addition to the traditional energy areas, embraced our identity as a next generation energy company. And we currently are the seventh largest solar producer in the country. And we are continue to be on the cutting edge of energy development. We have 4 companies. There's Orange and Rockland Utilities, Con Edison, which most people know about. We all have our Con Edison Clean Energy business, as well as our Con Edison and Con Edison Transmission Company. And I think I just misspoke because we're actually the 2nd largest solar producer in North America. So let's go to the next slide. As relates to supply diversity, Con Edison actually has one of the oldest programs in the nation. We started in 1969, back shortly after the assassination of Martin Luther King. We were very socially conscious company, making a commitment to the communities that we serve. And we started the Supply Diversity and have been recognized since that time, both locally and nationally, for our commitment to supply diversity. And we spent over $2 billion with MWEs over the last decade. Okay, next slide. All right. So our commitment to supply diversity is one that comes from the very top of our company. The executives in our company support supply diversity. On the slide on the screen now, you see a statement of commitment from our chairman, John McAvoy. And the significance there is supply diversity is an executive KPI, key performance indicator, that's tied to executive compensation. So as you can imagine, this is something that people pay attention to and people work to achieve. Our program works in a way where every contract over $100,000 goes before our team to allow us to recruit MWEs to be part of contract opportunities. In addition to that, we also meet with our key vendors, our largest vendors, to make sure that in our supply relationship management meetings, that we get a commitment from them to support our supply diversity program. Next slide. On the next slide, you see a long list of items that we procure as a utility. And no need for you to take notes now. As you can imagine, everything from construction services to professional services to equipment we procure at Con Edison. I think what's more important, though, is during the Q&A, I want to talk to you a little bit about positioning your company to be able to win business at Con Edison, because it's so important for you to be able to align your company with the strategic priorities of Con Edison. Next slide. So those of you that are not currently doing business with Con Edison, but would like to do business with Con Edison, I'd like to share a few things with you. So if you're looking to partner with our supply diversity program, we want to make sure that you are certified with a reputable organization such as the NMSDC. There's a New York, New Jersey local chapter. There also are city and state certifying agencies. Ophelia, who's one of the panelists, she can certainly be a resource there to make sure you are at least 51% owned and controlled by a minority entrepreneur. And we also have commercial and experience requirements as well. So you see on the chart here, or there on the slide here, some of the basic requirements. We have different requirements depending on the line of business that you're in. So if it's construction, we do have requirements for insurance. Safety will always be a big priority, no matter what line of business you're in, because that is our number one priority. You can find out more information when we engage with you, but those are some of the basics here on the screen. Next slide. Okay, so on the next slide, there are some basics about what we're looking for in an entrepreneur. But I can tell you, in listening to Pat Watts' presentation, we want companies to be like Pat Watts. For those of you who know her, she has installed over 300,000 retrofits across the country. She's built her business based on her ability to provide service, safety, innovation, and pricing. She's the full package. She's an AABE member that really embodies what we're trying to build in terms of partnership with entrepreneurs. Next slide. So on the next slide, you have my contact information, as well as my team members who work with us at Con Edison for supply diversity. So that's my telephone number and email address. I know that Bill and others will share that. For the next portion of my presentation, we'll go into a little more depth in terms of, again, what I believe would be some of these strategies and mindset that you will want to have as an entrepreneur and positioning yourself to win. That's my job, to be able to position you to win. Thank you very much.
Okay, Michael, are we? Okay, Michael, thank you very much. That was quite informative. Thank you for sharing your contact information at the end. I think that's very important. And thank you for letting us know what you look for in a diverse supplier. And Pat, thank you for being that great example. So if we could spend a couple of minutes, we are a little behind time, a few minutes behind time, but we have a few minutes where we could address some questions of interest. And the first question I have, actually, I just want to continue with Michael. Michael, if you could touch on what are the growing trends related to supply diversity in the energy industry specifically? Could you touch on that first?
Sure. I love the opportunity to share that with the entrepreneurs and prospective entrepreneurs in the audience. I say that there are basically 6 major drivers here that are at play. You have extreme weather conditions that are creating threats to our system, with threats to our ability to provide service to our customers. You have regulatory mandates, such as the carbon goals that are being set at the federal and local levels. You have growing customer expectations. In the age of Amazon, you have certainly expectation from customers that service will be 24/7 and immediate, and also a need for transparency and delivery of that information is key. Fourth would be emerging investor demands. Certainly, you're seeing trillions of dollars moving on Wall Street. Expectation that companies do have a sustainability performance within their operations. And the fifth would be economic drivers. You have poor economic conditions that are putting tremendous pressure on cost. And I'd say basically the math associated with renewable technology is changing. And it's having really a transformative impact on our industry. Speaking of technology, which I would say would be the 6th trend, would be technology. Would be you have smart grid technology, distributed generation. If you think about the traditional power grids of the past, where you had power being generated from a central hub out to spokes around the wheel, if you want to look at that way, in one direction. Now you're seeing a situation where energy and information can now move in 2 directions, and customers have an opportunity to actually generate their own energy, whether it be through solar and other means. And there's really a net. It changes the relationship between utilities and their customers. Look at technology associated with energy efficiency. These are game changers. Certainly, data. We are now going to be managing massive amounts of data. So any technology companies that have the ability to provide support in those areas, that there'd be support. And then cyber. Utilities are one of the #1 targets for local, national, international threats to our system. So that's a concern that keeps us up at night. And supply chain, you talk about the tremendous pressure on cost that I mentioned. It really creates a situation where supply chain professionals are forced to consolidate their contracts on a larger contracts. So what does that mean for an entrepreneur, which is really what I wanted to get to. So for an entrepreneur, you're really going to need to look to compete based on innovation and customer focus and price. And in order to do that, you have to really get to know the strategic priorities of a utility. So never think about your approach as self-widget. You got to think about what solution, what problem are you helping to solve for utility. So whether it be safety, which is always going to be a priority for utility, whether it be physical safety or cybersecurity, reliability. Certainly, we want to keep the lights on. If there is a disruption, resiliency is always going to be a priority, and affordability. Again, you look at these macroeconomic issues that are going on now. If you can bring cost, if you can help us to reduce cost, that's going to be something that will get you to the front of the line. And then realistically, if you think about the dynamics within a supply chain where you're seeing these types of consolidations of these larger contracts because of the cost pressures that we're experiencing, you're going to need to develop strategies to achieve scale. And how would you do that? There are a couple of different ways, obviously. I would say one way is through joint venture partnerships. I'd love to see more partnerships among and between MWEs. You have dynamic entrepreneurs that are part of the AABE network. They're a natural source for potential partnerships between MWEs, and then certainly as channel partners with larger businesses. And I know that AABE entrepreneurs are doing both. Would like to encourage all people listening to this presentation to consider that. There's there's opportunity to compete as a first tier entrepreneur directly, but also really thinking about ways to grow scale through these creative means. And then finally, these trends that I'm talking about also put tremendous pressure on professionals like me and Carla Hunter Ramsey, supply diversity professionals. So to give you two quick examples, just in closing, I want to give you an idea of some of the creative things we've had to do at Edison to be able to be agile and create opportunities in spite of all the challenges that we face. So you think about that slide that I showed earlier of what we require for our construction companies. That's a pretty high bar. And many of our community-based construction companies did not have the scale to actually to be able to meet that criteria. Right. Yet we're still being held accountable to creating opportunities for minority contracting companies. So what we did was, and I'm proud to say, we leveraged the AABE network. Greg Elcock, who's a member of AABE, and also he's the head of energy efficiency at Edison. He helped to facilitate a meeting for me with the Wildan company, and they are our energy efficiency integrating manager company. And the way that works is, many of you may know that we subsidize millions of dollars a year in energy efficiency projects. So if a commercial customer, a residential customer, multifamily customer wants to do a energy efficiency project, Edison will subsidize the cost of that. And there are companies that do the work. Now, the companies that do the work would be considered subcontractors to Wildan. And Greg Elcock was able to help me broker an arrangement with the non-MWE company to make a commitment to creating millions of dollars of subcontracting opportunities to minority businesses. Now, the beauty of this is it was a partnership with not only Wildan making a commitment to minority businesses, but also we have a nonprofit called Green City Force, which does training for low-income New York City housing residents. And we're creating job opportunities for minority residents within New York City housing to work on energy projects. And by the way, Pat Watts, who's on our panel today, she was one of the first entrepreneurs to make a commitment to providing job opportunities for people in our community. So that's a creative example of some of the things we're doing. We also, again, working the AABE network, we have some other Con Ed folks, such as Horace Davis, Jerry Dawes, and others who have worked with me in forming a partnership with Brookhaven National Labs, where we're partnering with their scientific researchers to work on solutions for our engineering department. And we also are bringing entrepreneurs from the MWE community to be able to partner to create solutions to Con Ed specific projects. So a lot of challenges, yes, but so long as you have the executive support, which we do share, and the commitment and the resources in terms of the network that we have in organizations through AABE, we are optimistic that we can develop opportunities.
Okay, fantastic. That's exactly what we were looking for. We are running out of time. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to open the floor up for any of the panelists to share any information. If anything, is pressing that you want to talk about briefly, I'm going to open up the floor for any of you, Carla, Pat, Richard, Ophelia, or Michael, to just share with us your thoughts on whatever you want to share to wrap things up. Okay. So what I want to say here, this has been, I would say, very informative, even for me as the moderator. It was very informative. I hope this becomes either annual event or, quarterly event. I think it's important for MBEs and MWBEs to understand the supply diversity process. I can tell you, as a new MBE myself, the opportunities that present themselves have been astounding to me. I was totally unaware before I was an MBE. This was a universe unfamiliar to me. Most of my work came as a subcontractor to a big institution. And since I became an MBE, it has opened the door up greatly for me. So if AABE-NYMAC can continue evolving and having these kinds of summits to educate people, to educate clients, entrepreneurs, executives in companies, I think it's a huge win. So thanks again. Just want to thank everyone. Thanks, AABE-NYMAC, for inviting me, Fleur for inviting me and putting this together, and everyone else who was involved. I think it was a well-planned, thought out, and produced summit. So thanks again. Let me just do one last check, see if there are any questions in the chat. So just to answer the one question about the slides are available on the bottom of the page. If you scroll down, you have the opportunity to download the slides. So thanks again to everyone for taking the time to engage, all the participants. Thank you very, very much. And thank you, the audience, for choosing to attend this summit and this specific discussion on supply diversity, inclusion, and equity. Thanks again.